is the longest river in the world. It stretches 4,100 miles, running through 11 countries before ending in Egypt's Nile Delta on the Mediterranean. But due to colonial-era laws, Egypt and its southern neighbor Sudan own almost all of the Nile's water, leaving other Nile countries with no rights to the river running through their own land. It's an arrangement that caused friction within the Nile community for decades, erupting into a bitter feud with the development of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, an ambitious $4.5 billion project set to become Africa's biggest hydroelectric power plant. After years of talks and fragile agreements, the giant dam is nearing completion, but tensions around it remain high. The Nile's main tributary is the Blue Nile, which provides over 80% of the river's waters, flowing down as it does from the Ethiopian highlands. Gerd stretches across the Blue Nile, just east of the Sudanese border. Upon completion, it will be over a mile long and 475 feet tall. When finished, it is hoped it will power around 60% of the homes that are not yet on Ethiopia's existing power grid, providing 6 gigawatts of power. But that does not appease its opponents. Egypt and Sudan, who have already dammed the Nile along their stretches of the river, opposed the project from its outset.
This megadam, which is Africa's largest hydropower facility, potentially threatens the welfare, the well-being, and the existence of millions of Egyptians and Sudanese citizens.
Sudan was against it because of how Gerd will be managed. Egypt has a more existential fear. The vast majority of its population of 102 million people live on its floodplain, and it relies upon the Nile for drinking water, irrigation, and industrial use. The fear is that Gerd will diminish the amount of water flowing through the country. It also claims rights to the majority of the Nile's waters, and that's because of laws stretching back a century. In 1929, Egypt signed a deal with Great Britain over the water rights of the Nile Basin. At the time, the British Empire spanned 4 countries of the Nile Basin: Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, and what is now Tanzania. But despite representing its own colonies, Britain agreed that Egypt had a historical right to the Nile waters and allocated 48 billion cubic meters out of an estimated 84 billion to the country. This was upped in a further 1959 agreement to 55.5 billion cubic meters, with Sudan getting 18.5. The treaty did not make any allowance for other Nile states, not even for Ethiopia, the source of the Blue Nile, and the largest contributor to the river system. Further, it gave Egypt veto rights for all infrastructure projects on the Nile. When then Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak announced the Toshka project, a lavish development which aimed to divert 10% of Lake Nasser above the Aswan High Dam for irrigation, the other Nile countries had had enough. In 2010, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania signed the Cooperative Framework Agreement, demanding more rights to water. And in 2011, Ethiopia announced their dam, initially calling it Project X and then the Millennium Dam, before finally settling on Gerd. Since then, a war of words has broken out between the country and its downstream neighbors, with several attempts at negotiations. In Egypt, the fear of running out of water hangs over the country. It is predicted this may happen as soon as 2025, even without Gerd. Tensions were raised further in 2013, when a meeting hosted by President Mohamed Morsi was televised, in which Egyptian politicians discussed how the dam could be destroyed.
لهدم أي سد يقام إذا كان فيه هذه الخطورة المحققة على مصر.
Even within Ethiopia itself, the project is not without criticism. Around 20,000 people will be displaced in the dam's construction, and there have been accusations of corruption. The project manager, Semenyu Bekele, also died under mysterious circumstances in 2018. But the longer negotiations go on between Ethiopia and Egypt, the poorer bargaining position the latter has. Once the dam is completed, Egypt won't be able to do much about it.